Welcome to Kapeleris Talk TV about real estate and beyond. Today, my special guest is Peel Police Officer Heather Cannon, here to talk about crime and safety in the real estate industry. Hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. How bad is crime in the real estate industry?
Oh, that's kind of a loaded question. Crime in the real estate industry, I think you have to look at, if you're looking at specifically what kind of crimes are you looking at.
Right.
So are you looking at thefts? Are you looking at assaults on specific people? Maybe it's realtors. As far as the specifics of those, what I can speak to is I know from being a police officer for 20 years, having to have dealt with numerous calls of going to reports of someone showing a house. Now the client has returned home and found some stuff missing. So we've had thefts that happen.
Right.
There's occurrences where there's been some personal safety issues where realtors have felt really uncomfortable with the way a potential buyer has dealt with them or even interacted with them. Sometimes they've actually been touched by these people.
Oh my goodness.
And then on top of that, there have been documented cases across Canada where specific crimes to realtors have happened. I mean, as far from making them feel uncomfortable, inappropriate conversations, all the way up to actually having their lives taken.
Right. So this is quite a serious matter, assaults on real estate agents. This is a big issue right now, as opposed to thefts. And I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of that happening too in real estate, but this would be the main focus right now. Happens a lot.
And right now, I think most recently, I think in the past few months, there has been some, I guess, a lot of chatter on social media as far as people wanting to know, especially with real estate agents, what kind of things can you be doing as an occupation, and this is what you're doing. What are the things that you can be looking at to keep yourself a bit safer within your environments that you're in?
Right. And so, having said that, how should a real estate agent screen a potential client that they are thinking of working with?
Well, and I know there's different companies, so different agencies, and I think what I would do is draw back to the policies and procedures that you do have with your company. But I think probably a wise thing to do is when you're having a potential buyer, maybe even getting information from that person, identification, any kind of, I don't know, any kind of, you could possibly ask for referencing.
Driver's license.
But if you are asking for identification, the other thing you do have to watch is there's going to be some people nowadays with, being able to share that personal private information. You're going to get a lot of people that are going to question why you want that, the retention of that material, and those are questions that are going to have to be advised to them.
Right.
But again, it's going to come down to there's going to be something within the policies and procedures of your area that's going to say, listen, we need this. We're not saying you're a bad person.
Right.
This is what we do with all of our clients, and we blanket that for safety of our workers.
We already have something like that in place when we go for a listing. We call it FinTrack, and they need to fill out their occupation, birth date, and driver's license or passport, something with a picture on it. And I think more and more people are doing this for open houses too, because it's safety not only for the agent, but for the consumer, the person that has their house open to the general public, right? So I think maybe I would think, from what I've learned being in the business 20 years, is when somebody calls you as a potential client, maybe the first thing is to meet them at the office as opposed to meeting them at the house.
I would agree with that.
A lot of crimes will happen, and sometimes they call you off your picture and they ask you to meet you at a vacant house, and that's when the red flags go up. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and I think that that's something, depending on how you've already been currently practicing, how you go and meet a potential client, I think having those safety measures in place, and I think that's an excellent example, is having them meet on your turf. You are on your turf, and when they're coming there, they realize that there's possibly cameras in your area. They're coming in, and again, you're not trying to treat them like they're criminals. Again, it's ultimately up to your safety.
Right.
your safety.
Right. And it's not just females, it's men too, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you use your common sense? For instance, how do you show a property to a buyer safely? What are some safety tips?
So, well, common sense itself, sometimes that varies between people. That's not to
Yeah.
offend anybody, but
true.
sometimes it's a matter of just really thinking ahead, almost like if you had a crystal ball and you thought, what potentially could go
Could
wrong
happen.
here. I'm not saying walk around thinking, something bad's going to happen to me all the time, but I think you have to kind of think, okay, how am I going to go through this property and show it safely?
Right.
So again, I think it's meeting. You can meet the buyer at the house,
Yeah.
but I would arrive a bit earlier so that you can go into the house by yourself. Another
Right.
thing that I would do, making sure that if that person has, and I mean, maybe you've assisted them with possibly staging that house,
Yes.
but just little things to look for. Say in the kitchen, a lot of people have knife blocks, so they'll have the blocks with the knives in them.
Oh.
Make sure that that possibly is down in a counter or somewhere that's not accessible to anybody coming in, because those are potential weapons.
Yes.
The other thing that maybe people didn't think about is when you go into the house, you want to have an exit plan if something were to go wrong.
That's
So
important.
thinking about going and unlocking the back door, unlocking the side door, so you have access to different ways out, and understanding if you know that you're going to go out through the back door because that's the only way you can get out, understanding the outside of the property. If it's totally fenced in and there's no way to get around, you don't want to be trapped in the backyard. So it's really understanding that property
Right,
and
right.
access controls.
So knowing the layout. I usually
Correct.
have my cell phone with me, and I have 911 on speed dial if I know I'm going to be, meeting somebody alone, a stranger that I don't know.
And sometimes it's even understanding how your phone works. So you don't have to, you can have it on a password protect, but
Yeah.
on a lot of phones you just have an emergency button. Some people think if I just push the emergency button, it automatically dials 911, and that's
Yeah.
not the case.
Yeah.
It just takes you to the phone screen so that you can dial 911. So you can actually already have part of it already dialed, and then if you're needing to speak with someone, the 911 operator, they're already accessible to you.
That's good advice. I guess the same thing goes for if you're showing a condo and you have to park underground and you have to get keys. Is there any more tips on that? Because there's a lot of danger there involved too.
So, well, and I mean, speaking to the parking component, even if it's a house above ground or a townhouse, we're actually asking people, if you're the realtor, park on the street. If you park yourself
yeah.
into the driveway, there's a potential for someone, and I know people that do this, they'll come to my house and they'll park at the end of my
Blocked
driveway,
in?
and they're blocked in. So now if you're requiring to leave, you're blocked in.
Yes.
So if you're doing, even in an underground where they have the spots, even backing into that spot too.
Right.
So when you want to access the car, it's already in a position that you get in and you can just drive out.
Right,
Instead
right.
of trying to look behind you and trying to navigate reverse out of the spot.
Yeah, yeah. What are some safety precautions that a seller can take before they put their house on the market, or when their house is being shown? Should they be, usually they shouldn't, they shouldn't be in the house when it's being shown, but sometimes they have to. They have to still live their lifestyle, right?
Correct.
But are any safety precautions for the seller?
Well, the safety for them as well, and I think it could be personal safety, but I think a lot of the time it's more their property. And from my experience, when people are showing their places, it's sometimes they'll leave their wallets out, they'll leave their jewelry out, and it's making sure that they are also going through their houses and understanding where people can have access to their house. They're going to be shown.
Right.
And if they have anything of value, that they put that either in a safety deposit box, put it somewhere. If they don't want to get one of those, they can put it into a safe spot within their house. It's
Right.
not readily accessible to strangers who are coming through your house.
Exactly.
Again, and maybe having an understanding with any of the people that are coming into your house. If it's a realtor, there's some understanding that, if someone
Yes.
is doing something in their house that they don't like, maybe working out something with them first.
Right.
Because
and they're
some
always
people like to be in
accompanied-
their houses.
Yeah. In that case, they're always accompanied by a realtor too. And when you're doing open houses, I think that realtors should do open houses in pairs and then get everybody to sign in with their identification. I think
Exactly.
we already said that.
Exactly. But maybe even having a sign too, identifying your expectations of those that are coming in.
Yeah.
Because if someone has a problem, you
Yeah.
know that you can say, listen, this is the practice that we have. You can even call our main office, and they'll organize that for you as well. They'll know that this is the
Right.
practice that we're taking, and it's just for safety purposes.
Okay, tell us quickly, what is a crime triangle? And give us some examples.
So the crime triangle really is, I guess it's also getting you to understand how to read your environment. So the crime triangle, it consists really of a criminal, so someone who may want to take stuff from your house, may want to hurt you in some way. You have a victim, and then you have opportunity. And opportunity really is something that we can control. And once you don't have one of those elements, then a crime really can't happen. So it's how do we not only, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're doing, if you're a realtor, if you're anybody, if you're going out for a run, how is it that you can change that opportunity? So for example, you're walking down the street at night, I'm late, I can cut down this street or this little catwalk through the park where it's dark and I don't have any lights, or it takes me 5 minutes to walk around a well-lit street to get to my house.
Yeah.
Now understanding if I take that shortcut, could someone jump out of the bushes? And it is kind of thinking in a way where you're being proactive. It
Right.
might seem a little scary, but you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to make this decision, I'm going to go this way because it's safer.
Right.
So I'm going to have less of a chance of somebody trying to attack me. But if even, it doesn't say that you're 100% safe, but if you're walking down the street and something bad does happen, or
Yeah.
you feel uncomfortable, you can approach someone's door because there's somebody around.
Right.
So it's just really taking a look of being alert and
triangle.
aware of your environment,
Yeah.
so that it lessens the chance of you becoming a victim. Also, you're not also providing that opportunity for someone to say,
Right.
you know what, you look like someone I want to attack.
Right, that's good advice. I just wanted to get in before we leave. I wanted to talk to you and let the viewers know about the crime mapping feature that you have on your website.
Right, so on the Peel Police website, we have a crime prevention section. Within that section, we have our presentations, we have our fact card on the safe habits of realtors as well. But this crime mapping is available to anybody, and I think it actually would be really beneficial to realtors as well, because you can go on the website, and when you click on crime mapping, there is what looks like a tiny little Rubik's Cube, and you click on it, and you
Yes.
can choose layers. You can see what kind of offenses have occurred in the last
Really?
7 to 30 days in the region of Peel. So you can see what break-ins and if there's mischiefs to auto, and you get to understand what's going on in that community. So
Right.
you can actually see, and then it'll look like the whole region of Peel is covered in chickenpox, because it'll be a blue one for broken into a house. And then if you just widen it on your screen, it'll indicate within the street. It'll show you on the street where that break-in
You're
occurred.
kidding. That's
Absolutely.
valuable information.
Absolutely, and that can really help you to identify what's going on in my neighborhood or where you're showing a house.
And this is accessible to everyone that goes on your website?
Totally accessible, transparent. We won't give the actual address, but we'll show the street name that occurred on, so that it gives you a little bit more information to maybe even be proactive in your neighborhood to say, wow, some people are breaking into my cars. I should really watch to see what I'm leaving in my cup holders. But as well, for anybody showing a house in that area, you can actually see yourself what kind of things are happening in that neighborhood, and what a great way to be able to explain that, if you so choose, to the buyers and say, I know this about this neighborhood, but I think it also keys you into that neighborhood.
Perfect. And where do people go? What's the website?
So it's www.peelpolice.ca, and they just click on, you can type in the search word crime mapping, or if you go over to the top right-hand corner, there's a crime prevention tab. If you just click it, it lowers and you'll see crime mapping accessible to you there.
Thank you so much. That's such great advice, and I'm sure that'll help a lot of people. Thank you for being here, Heather.
Thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.